How is it to be you as a physician during this pandemic with all of those racist theories being spread even by the then president of the United States? You know the question I'm getting at. I'm sorry if I've
No, this is
stumbled
great.
through the wording of it or offended anybody, but I think it's exactly what I mean.
Oh yeah. And I'm not gonna absolve them of guilt, but wow, thankful for what I experienced in middle school being bullied for my race.
What happened?
Oh, in Trinity, they just kept it was racist love. I mean, in public school, they would just call me chink and I would fight back. But in Trinity, like it was kind of subtle. So I didn't know what to fight back against.
Right.
I love China, or like, oh, like, with the best of intentions, with the worst of behavior. We judge others by their behaviors and only ourselves by our intentions. So they
Mm,
were like, what did I say? And you knew it hurt. The expectations that you'd be good at math because of your race,
right.
and all things that seem very positive on the surface takes away your humanity below it. And I felt it but couldn't understand it. And you know having the public school being more direct and saying, I don't like you because you're different. Well, great, then we're on, then you're communicating with me, then I just know then we're
Right.
not going to be friends.
Right. I know
But
where
when
you stand.
then if somebody says I am racist, I admit that if someone said that, then I would be like, great, we can start from there. There's a little bit
Right.
of self-awareness,
Right.
and I respect that. But if people says I am not racist, but then say all these racist things, then you're like, like there's a lack
Usually,
of
by the
self-awareness. I
way,
don't know how to navigate that.
my experience is that usually the phrase "I am not racist" or "I don't have a racist bone in my body" is usually followed by something racist. But anyway, go ahead.
The disclaimers are more offensive.
Right.
When anyone says, I don't want to get political, that statement itself is
Yeah.
political.
Yes.
So that was something in COVID that I went into knowing like, oh, it's going to be really bad. But also keep in mind, I am 6'1". I'm a cisgender heterosexual man. Hopefully, since middle school, I learned a few things about being outspoken and taking care of myself. I'm a little better at sports now or being athletic than I was back then. I did not actually receive any direct threats of physical harm that a lot of my colleagues and friends in the Asian American community experienced. Because I didn't experience it doesn't mean it doesn't exist. It definitely is a big problem. It
Yep.
does exist, and we
Yep.
have to, stand up and speak on behalf of them, and pick up people when they fall. But I did experience the Trinity version of it, which was this micro behaviors that made you knew what they were thinking, and they were acting a certain way that made you feel less of a human and less of an individual.
Such as.
They were seeing you as the race, the person that
Right.
may be the reason why there's a pandemic in the first place. You can feel it. It's like someone staring at you in the cafe or on the street. You can feel that energy.
Yeah.
And there's like a negative connotation to that staring. And they mean well and they want to prove themselves wrong, but there's an overwhelming influence of society that one harbors, that they lash out in a way that they would surprise themselves with. We talked about middle school. These kids that bullied me was because they were probably going through their own issues,
Yeah.
and they were so afraid. All they knew, and it was so overwhelming of an environment like Trinity, where you're supposed to like be appreciative of all the privilege that you have, and it's a wonderful education, and all that pressure builds up to then lash out against someone that you feel can be your receptacle for that crap. In COVID, I was feeling it all over again, where all these people that were afraid, and understandably so, it's okay to be afraid during a pandemic, didn't know how to reconcile that fear into something that was healthy. They instead chose something that felt very easy, a habit, a learned habit that they probably picked up from all the influences from society, whether it was the president at the time or other people in their community that were just meaner and probably normalized bullying. And they themselves would just find themselves doing that onto their behaviors, interactions with me.
Right.
But the way I dealt with it was I went in with knowing, having experienced it before in Trinity, and just seeing that they were afraid with compassion. And just like you as a coach on the sports team, I would redirect that energy like jujitsu onto them with humor.
Yeah.
I wrote in the book that this guy was like, I am here to get a COVID test because I think I got it from this Asian guy that coughed or sneezed like 100 feet away down the lobby. And I was like, what, did you get up really close with him? I wrote it a little nicer in the book, but like the truth is like, were you really, really close with him? Like, did you get up? And it's like, it's kind of like a weak thing. And then the wife just reamed him. She's like, oh no, like I see what he's getting at. And he got it, and he felt embarrassed because his wife was like, well, I'm taking the doctor's side. And when you lose the side of your wife takes the other side,
Yes.
you know you lost.
Yeah.
And he excused himself and left because he had no symptoms. And I was like, you're gonna catch COVID here, because not because of the Asian guy, but because of your fear of the Asian guy. You are your own worst enemy. Had you taken 5 minutes to think about it, you may have prevented the need to bring you and your wife to the emergency room filled with COVID, and now you're fucked. So that's, I think, what we can only do, that compassion. I'm not going to get in the well with them, but I at least can do the little bit of my energy that I have to make them see for themselves, and they learn it on their own. And when they do, then they own it.